Hola!
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 We are the Villalobos brothers. Our music is about familia,
Possibilities.
friendship,
Justice. Immigration!
imagination, tradition,
3 violins playing in harmony.
melodies.
Brotherhood. Passion.
Welcome to our second album.
And welcome to Tucson. Welcome to the Villalobos brothers, and welcome to everyone who's here for El Tour de Tucson for Thanksgiving. This is the most exciting and delicious show of the year. This is Around the Table, live from the city of gastronomy. Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer English, and I am so really privileged to be welcoming you to our table today. This is Around the Table, where each and every day we invite the most interesting and influential, talented and generous foodies, style makers, taste makers, music makers, hospitalians. It's a word we're making up. Healers, foodies, friends, movers and shakers, they all join us around our table each and every week, and we pull out all the stops to welcome them. We are going to get so much done in such a short amount of time because we only have this 1 hour each and every week together, but it is enough to inspire, to stimulate, and, I believe, to make the gift of our intention to bring hospitality and conviviality to your world by welcoming you to ours and breaking bread and sharing time together around our table. You cannot break bread together, cook together, and be together without the full measure of life's experience. I know some people who just can't cook without music in the kitchen. I'm certainly one of those people, and my first guest today, a native daughter of the Sonoran region, is as well. She's best known, as all the greats are, by her one name, Zarela. Zarela Martinez is an award-winning chef who has cooked for presidents and kings and has, in the course of her career and her life, befriended literally some of the most brilliant people on the planet. We were messaging back and forth this morning, and she was mentioning that her friends, the Villalobos brothers, were in town here in Tucson at the Fox Theater tonight with their new album. And we were talking about some of her friends that historically she has shared with me at table. She's joined us many, many times on this program, and as someone from the region of this part of the world, from Agua Prieta, and with the food and flavors of this region coursing through her inspiration and creativity, it's no surprise that she draws the most brilliant and generous people in the world to her like moths. These are extraordinary people, and I've had the great privilege of sharing these experiences with her as well. She joins me now at my table as we kick off what I will consider the most sacred and delicious show and week of the year, where we turn our Thanksgiving table with our family and our friends into a celebration of our family and our friends. The Thanksgiving table has become an edible ofrenda, pan-cultural, and it's that table to which we welcome my first guest, Zarela Martinez, today. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm so happy to be on with you one more time. And I love the way you express the table as an ofrenda, because that's exactly what it is, an offering to our friends and family.
When we were all introduced, those of us who don't live in this region or come from a culture that celebrates this tradition, and the thing I'll tell you, and you and I will share telling the audience about this region, is that this is not a cultural appropriation. If you live here and you love this place, everything about this place is part of who you are. It's part of your legacy. And even if when I was a kid, I didn't grow up with an ofrenda, it is authentically a part of my world now. But what many of us didn't know until the movie Coco introduced that idea to us so broadly was this marvelous tradition of ofrenda, and how, in fact, for many of us, we were living an ofrenda-like altar experience on our Thanksgiving table without being able to put a name to it. Will you tell everyone in the audience about what an ofrenda is?
Well, Mexicans believe that the souls come back once a year to visit. And we make all our favorite foods and their favorite foods and celebrate, the end of the harvest. And it's a beautiful thing. But I want to talk about the Villalobos brothers.
I know. We're going to do that. They're in town to introduce their new album, and your history with them goes back a long way it's probably even further back than Sad Songs from a Happy Heart. Tell us about the Villalobos brothers and how that family welcomes us to their family.
Yes, well, there are this brilliant classical violinists who got the visas as aliens of extraordinary ability. Ernesto came in as a Fulbright scholar. They play modern renditions of traditional Veracruzan music. It's joyful, it's brilliant, and they're just the most gorgeous, lovely people you can imagine.
And you worked in collaboration with them on my favorite work of yours, which was not a cookbook, in fact, but your music, Sad Songs from a Happy Heart.
Yes, Humberto, who is a musical director, produced the album, and Luis Villalobos plays the violin in 2 or 3 of the songs, and they are just my favorites.
When we kick off this Thanksgiving week, I can think of no more joyful music to do this with than the Villalobos brothers. Will you tell us a little bit more about how the joy of this music really typifies the feeling of family that you grew up with and that we're all hoping to recapture, rediscover, and regenerate through this holiday of Thanksgiving?
I think that there's no better language than music, to try to understand other people, because that's part of our heritage that is very unique to different areas, So the Villalobos brothers have brought this. It's traditional, but it's at the same time orchestrated and beautifully put together. So to me, it's the way they speak to me.
Mm-hmm. You're one of the people who helps me explain to others the really symbiotic relationship between food and music, that there are so many things about music and there are so many things about food that similarly literally touch every life and are expressed in the most accessible ways. Will you talk about how you might observe and understand or see the similarities between food and music?
Well, they take the part of your soul. It's an expression of what you feel inside or what you believe and what makes you tick, music is, I sing all day long, and it takes composition, it takes things, to meld beautifully together. It's, you show your talent, your passion, your sensibility. I mean, music and food are just so similar,
One of the things that I like to describe is that ingredients are like notes, and combining them allow you to make flavor chords. And every single cook is like the musician in the kitchen who plays the music and flavor chords with their own hand, which is why I believe we should all share our recipes, because even if you gave everyone all the exact same ingredients, pans, and recipe, no two cooks will make it taste exactly the same way no two musicians will make the music feel or taste the same. Because I believe that the energy and soul and spirit of the person who is performing the music and preparing the food comes through. Do you believe that more than ever, or did you always believe that?
I believe that more than ever because I'm singing more than ever. I'm working on a new album and I'm working on this new podcast, and the Villalobos are going to let me use one of their songs to to announce a program. It's called Chiquitita, which fits me very well because it's about somebody very little and very short. And so it's there that will be even more united, the food and the music.
When you and I talk about food, and honestly, we could sit here for hours and welcome our guests and pour them something delicious and cook for them, which would make us all very, very happy. And it's been far too long since we've cooked together. But in this time of family, I would be remiss if I didn't remind the audience that we're talking with Chef Zarela Martinez, the infamous and glorious and generous soul. She's an artist at both the table and at the stove and in the music studio. She brings the music of the flavors of Sonora to life, the flavors of Veracruz. We've watched her on television, and it's no surprise that she comes from a very long and distinguished lineage of culinary talent. When we talk about the ofrenda, we must mention her remarkable mother, Aida Gabilondo, who I had
And
the
my
great
son.
privilege. And I was just getting to, and look at what a proud mama you are, your son. You actually have twin sons, one of whom most of our audience is going to know from Food Network, from many shows like Chopped, Chef Aaron Sanchez.
Master Chef now, darling.
Master Chef, pardonnez-moi. How do you say that?
And he's got a brand new book that is so beautiful and that I can't tell you. And ABC has bought the rights, and they're going to make a comedy of it, comedy series.
That's incredible.
I know.
When we talk about putting our soul into the food that we cook, I'm going to ask you before we have to say goodbye, and thank you for being with us today. Do you have a master tip about allowing the spirit of your love and intention to flow through you with abundance as we prepare our Thanksgiving meal?
Yes, I do. In Mexico, and in the border, of course, we like to honor our friends by preparing everything ourselves, to put our essence, which is a gift that we are giving. And no better holiday illustrates that than Thanksgiving, because everybody, either you make the whole meal or everybody brings a dish, and all our essences come together into a beautiful ofrenda.
Is there something that you do that you believe transfers your essence through the food? Is there a special spoon you use? Is there a special prayer you sing?
No, I what I do is I prepare very carefully so that everything, is smooth and everybody enjoys it without any stress.
That's the most important thing. Chef Zarela Martinez, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Jennifer. I mean, I just love to be on the program with you. You're the best interviewer ever.
Thank you so much, and I hope that you and your beautiful family have a delicious and stress-free and absolutely joyful, music-filled Thanksgiving celebration together.
Thank you, darling. Lots of love.
Lots of love. And I want to thank the Villalobos brothers for coming to town and kicking off this marvelous weekend for us. They're at the Fox Theater tonight at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are still available. The Fox Tucson Theater, the Villalobos brothers performing tonight at 7:30 p.m. We're going to go to break right now, and when we come back, a little sound of the Villalobos brothers. Linda West Eckhart is here to help us do our Thanksgiving upright. Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is Around the Table, live from the City of Gastronomy. Thanksgiving week. We are kicking off my favorite show of the year. My good friends at Ken's Hardwood Barbecue want me to tell you that they have whole, remarkably delicious pies that you can order for Thanksgiving for your own family. And I will tell you that the sweet potato pie is heavenly. Even if you don't normally and traditionally love that pie, this is irresistible. And their chess pie, it nearly brought tears to my eyes when I tasted it. It is sublime. It is perfect. However, you've got to get your pie orders in by the end of the restaurant day tomorrow. Ken's Hardwood Barbecue is located on 22nd, and we'll give you time to grab a pencil. You know, the grab a pencil is one of those things that I learned from my next guest, Linda West Eckhart, when she did her first grab a pencil recipe with me when we were first on the air together. But Ken's Hardwood Barbecue is located at 5250 East 22nd Street in Tucson, Arizona. Their telephone number is 520-745-4746. Order your Thanksgiving pies by the end of the day tomorrow, and you'll be happy. You'll be very, very happy. Ken's Hardwood Barbecue is also smoking turkeys, and I highly recommend that if you are feeding a crowd and doing what Ken calls cooking big, he and his mom, who has been cooking big most of her life. I love this idea of cooking big, cooking for a crowd with fearlessness, with generosity, where you welcome people to your table and where the idea, the more the merrier, doesn't terrify you, it excites you. That's the real essence of hospitality. So for me, I like to think that if you have the opportunity to cook big, that 2 smaller birds as you're doing your preparations is the way to go. And if you're going to do a bird, let's say 12 pounds, maybe even 14 pounds, and you need a little bit more meat, get a second bird. And what better way to make it delicious with twice the drumsticks, twice the wings, than to get a smoked turkey from Ken's Hardwood Barbecue. My guest, Linda West Eckhart, is a multiple James Beard Award winner. We have won the James Beard Prize honors together, and she has been my mentor for much of my career. And so when I was posting earlier this week about Thanksgiving tips, some of which she gladly shared with her own audience on Everybody Eats News, one of the most well-respected and widely read food blogs in the blogosphere universe, I was dismayed when she announced that she couldn't disagree with me more about the 2 birds versus 1 big bird. She joins me now to help take all of the stress, as was recommended by my last guest, Zarela Martinez, out of the equation. She's here to tell us why cooking big means cooking the big bird and so much more. From her test kitchens in Maplewood, New Jersey, multiple James Beard Award winner and Julia Child Prize winner Linda West Eckhart. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay. You have done it all, tasted it all, and won every prize, and you still continue to be one of the most culinarily curious, exciting, and generous people on the planet. As I am thanking people in my world for doing all that they do, I have to say with a really grateful heart how very thankful I am for you being my friend and mentor and adopted mother all these years. So thank you.
Thank you. I love you like my own kid. It's really true.
And so it's only with your parents that you can fight like this and know that they're still going to love you.
Well, this argument about whether you should have 1 big bird or 2 smaller birds brings up a lot of issues. The first issue is this. What in the heck are you going to use to cook 2 birds? I mean, who has that much oven space? Most home ovens in a 30-inch range, which is sort of the standard piece of equipment most people have, will hold 1 bird, but it wouldn't hold 2 birds if they each weighed 8 pounds.
I agree with you on that point. I will concede that point to you. However, I will also address the fact that many homes don't have the space for all the side dishes and all the other accoutrements and go-withs. So people are accustomed to making, jigging things and making arrangements. And I would argue that if you did something like get a smoked turkey that was thoroughly cooked and could be served as a second bird, or if you prepared a turkey the day before and had it all sliced and ready to go, so you had your trophy bird and your platter bird where you're not carving in front of guests, I happen to think that does that change your mind at all?
Well, it does make me think, because I'll tell you what, once I went to my daughter's house, my stepdaughter's house, and she had cooked a bird, and a big, big, big bird. She had murdered it. She didn't just fix it. It looked like it was the victim of a crime. I thought, oh, dear Lord, I should have done this myself. Because she didn't know what she was doing, and she was half mad because she had to do it. So she just...
first of all, let's start there. The attitude and intention of cooking your Thanksgiving. Of all the people I know, we talked to Zarella about this, and again, tell us how important where your heart and spirit are when you cook. Or are you someone who believes it's just purely technical expertise?
Oh, my gosh, no, absolutely not. And the thing I've always loved about Thanksgiving is that it is the one holiday where you are not restricted by religion. You are not restricted by blood relations. You can invite whomever you wish to Thanksgiving. And I personally think that's fabulous. Like last night, my friend Rose and I went out to dinner to the local diner, and we sat next to our friend Bill Charlap, the pianist. And I said, "Where's Vivi? We want his daughter, Vivi." We said, "We want Vivi to come to our house for Thanksgiving." He said, "Oh, sorry, she left for North Carolina today." I said, "Oh, shoot, I love that Vivi so much." But anyway, we always fill our tables, and it's not just table, it's tables with what I call the strays. People who might not have anywhere else to go for Thanksgiving, they're always welcome to come to my house.
I love that. Now, one of the discussions that we're going to have today, and I love that we've sort of framed it as, I love you no matter what, because that's such a thing that we face as we go home or head home.
Yeah.
Sharon Tyler Herbst, who passed away a number of years ago, was one of the great contributors to our culinary culture. She's a friend and colleague of yours.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote a book called The Food Lover's Companion.
I have it.
A book that I consider indispensable.
By the way, you can still buy that book on Amazon used. I mean, it's still for sale.
Yeah. So this is comprehensive definitions of over 4,000 food, wine, and culinary terms. Now, I grew up in New England, not far from Plymouth Rock, where allegedly in 1620, some refugees illegally crossed the border into the United States.
Isn't that the truth?
And sought a new life by saying, we will come here and we will make this new place richer for our contributions, and we will welcome all because we're seeking freedom, and we're seeking freedom from persecution.
Mm-hmm.
So fundamentally, as we celebrate Thanksgiving, we can kind of at least put everything else aside and agree that, this is why this place exists and was born. So coming into my food consciousness as a young person, not only was I just up the road from Plymouth Rock, I was just up the road from a company called Brady Enterprises, which has as one of its many subsidiaries a company called the William Bell Seasoning Company. Now, William Bell Seasoning comes in a little cardboard yellow box with a picture of a fowl on the front. It is an ornate Victorian era, like a turkey, I believe it's a turkey, but you know what? I'm going to test my memory right now. I'm going to ask my friend and producer, John, if he can pull up a picture of the Bell's seasoning box. And we should tell everybody that you can watch us in the studios here live. You can see what John's pulling up. You can see the music. You can see everything we're doing. We're on 1030 The Voice on Facebook, YouTube Live, Twitter, and Instagram. We're everywhere. And so there is a beautiful sort of Victorian era, old-fashioned looking. It says Bell's All Natural Salt-Free Seasoning, the William G. Bell Company. And the reason the box, I'm gonna guess this. The reason the box looks so old-fashioned is because as Yankees, as thrifty New Englanders, my suspicion is that when they printed those boxes, they printed a lifetime supply, not imagining that they would never run out because they got a better deal on them. So instead of being 4 cents a box, they probably got it down to half a cent a box. But then literally they'll never need to print the boxes again. There's probably some massive trove in a mountain underground warehouse somewhere in Utah that they're storing these.
Probably.
Because how else can you explain that this box looks exactly the same as it did in 1867, which is the date which is printed on the front of the box? Now, the reason I tell you all of this, and the reason the audience is saying, Bell's Seasoning, I think I've seen that, and I think I have a box of it, and I might have used it the last 2 or 3. First of all, let's talk about spices and the need for fresh spices, and why, if you don't have Bell's Seasoning, you should go buy a fresh box today, because
That's right.
spices need to be fresh. But the thing I'm also going to tell you is this unique blend and mixture is vexing and irresistible. When I first owned a spice company, I tried to recreate it. It is impossible to do. You just have to concede that nothing else tastes like Bell's Seasoning. And if you're going to make stuffing for your turkey stuffing and all the trimmings, you need to, in my estimation, make it taste the way it tasted when I was a kid, and get Bell's Seasoning and use the recipe on the box. Follow it just the way you would follow the Toll House recipe on the bag of chocolate chips. And that's where I'm going to leave that for the moment.
Well, before you leave that, though, what I want to say is, thanks to your reminding me, I'm going to order some Bell's Seasoning today, because it's not too late. You can get it delivered to your house by Thanksgiving if you order it today. And I'm sure they have a vigorous mail order.
Nora Ephron is one of the most brilliant women and writers who ever set pen to paper. She was also a foodie. And unbeknownst to me, when she wrote about Thanksgiving, she wrote about when her children were small and she was more into being busy with being a mom and writing and everything, and wasn't the gourmet she is later in her life. And she used the Pepperidge Farm stuffing mix.
Oh,
and how her children to this day don't consider it Thanksgiving unless it's made for the table in the exact same method.
Of course.
That's the flavor of Thanksgiving to these kids.
It's the flavor of Thanksgiving to every living human being. We all want what we loved when we were a kid. All of us do.
Why?
Because we equate that flavor with safety, with pleasure, with it. And also for me, Thanksgiving was also when my cousins would show up and we could run around in the backyard. You know, Texas is cold as witch's tits by Thanksgiving. We'd put on our coats and go outside and run around. It was just a wonderful day. It still is one. And I also love the way people cobble together tables. I mean, most people do not really have a table where they can seat 12 comfortably. Most people put a hard table up against the kitchen table next to something. The Thanksgiving I went to last year, the tables were cobbled until they went all the way out to the front porch. It was wonderful.
One of my favorite Thanksgivings was the year that I got rid of all the furniture in the living room, and I rented 4 tables and I made one really long table and welcomed everybody. Yeah. Sadly, I'm not cooking for anybody yet this year.
Well, I'm not either, and it makes me very sad.
I'm twitching. I'm twitching a little bit because my body and my senses know now's the time I should be like, in that 10 p.m. last grocery run of the day when nobody's in the store. And by the way, that's one of my tips for this Thanksgiving. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, go to the grocery store at 9, 10, 10:30 at night, and you will have the place to yourself. It will have all the festive energy of a Thanksgiving shopping. You will have all the specials. And there will be no one there. You can shoot a cannon through the place and enjoy. I love the idea of I've got the whole place to myself. It's some of the best Thanksgiving shopping of the year. But I'm going to tie it back to stuffing. And when we're cooking birds and we're presenting the meal, I call it stuffing because that's the word that I used. Somebody said to me, but what about dressing? And so in the same way that Italian families might call it sauce or gravy, in the same way that you might call the same item by two different names, are you stuffing or dressing when you talk about that savory, sagey, celery-ish bread mixture that you accompany your turkey with?
Well, for me, it's dressing, not stuffing. And I also really like it cooked in an 8.5 by 11 pan, as well as putting part of it. With the flavor of the dressing that's cooked in the bird is incomparable.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make enough. I mean, you have to have another, at least one more pan of it to satisfy my needs. And by the way, I don't use that Pepperidge Farm stuff. When I was a kid, and to this very day, I use half cornbread and half biscuit that are cooked the day before, cooled, mashed up with your fingers, mix in the celery and onion and chicken broth and the seasoning. That's how I make dressing. I don't do that bread stuff.
I've had people tell me and explain to me that stuffing is when you stuff it into the bird.
The bird. Yeah. Well, that's probably right.
But I've turned to Sharon Tyler Herbst's work, The Food Lover's Companion, and so I went right where I thought I belonged to. It's set up in a small encyclopedic kind of dictionary-ish kind of book.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
I thumbed through to where it says stuffing on page 562. And it has two words. See dressing.
That's wonderful.
I'm going to read now to you from the Sharon Tyler Herbst book, and I'll show this to the Facebook audience because I think this is absolutely indispensable, The Food Lover's Companion. Dressing. 1. A sauce, usually cold, used to coat or top salads and some cold vegetable, fish, or meat dishes. 2. A mixture used to stuff poultry, fish, meat, and some vegetables. It can be cooked separately or in the food in which it is stuffed. Dressings, also called stuffings, are usually well seasoned and based on breadcrumbs or cubes, though rice, potatoes, and other foods are often used. And if you are from a different part of the world where oysters are rich, you might put in oysters. If you're from a family that prizes chorizos and sausages, if you're going to use chorizo, imagine a stuffing made with the Chiltepecca. Yes, Chiltepecca. My friends at the Chiltepecca Company make the greatest chorizo in the world, and a couple times a year you can buy it at the Costco. But mine is simple, made the way my Nana did, with cubed, dried white bread. The cheaper the better. Sage, onion, butter, chicken stock, and Bell's seasoning.
No celery?
Always celery. Did I leave celery out?
Yeah, you left it out. But celery is it's just really important, I think.
Well, the one thing I want to ask you about before I let you go is we have a new sponsor. And our new sponsor is the Le Rendezvous French restaurant. And Le Rendezvous has been around since 1980. And it is reminded... Well, they're not open for Thanksgiving. But what I'll say is it reminds me of why French food and some of the classics are the classics that they are. What is your one favorite classic French dish that reminds you that this is why all other cuisine in the world can take its lineage and tie it back to the French? Because they do a lot
Well,
of things really well.
They do many things well, and the simplest thing they do, and they're just without fear, is French onion soup.
Mm.
You have to have the right kind of onions. You have to have the right kind of broth. It's the simplest thing in the world, but made right, it's just what, we always think of as a drop your spoon dish. It's so good, you go, it's wonderful. That's my favorite French dish.
They make the best French onion soup in town, and yes, they do top it with Gruyere, and yes, they do fire it up so that the cheese is melty and toasty and nutty and wonderful. And if you are looking to not cook in the days leading up to Thanksgiving, and you want to give yourself and your family that's come into town to be with you a little treat, try a little luncheon Monday through Friday at Le Rendezvous and try the glorious French onion soup gratiné. You will feel grown up, you will feel celebrated and sophisticated, and when you get there, tell them I sent you.
Yeah, I'm going to get on a plane and come to you.
Listen, if you came all this way, I would make you onion soup at myself. I would peel the onions and weep with pleasure that you were coming to see me.
Wasn't that fun? I wish I could.
I know.
Well, the one other thing I do wish to talk about are Thanksgiving traditions. And every family has their own traditions. And we have a new tradition in our family that we got from reading the New York Times. And that is, maybe 10 years ago, a famous chef was challenged to do something with the Thanksgiving turkey to make it a better dish. And so he developed a recipe. His name is Eric Ripert. He's a French chef. So he developed this way of cooking a turkey that my family, we've done it that way ever since.
No, wait a second. Let's just remind everybody that Eric Ripert is a multi-James Beard Award-winning chef owner of Le Bernardin, arguably the most meticulous, glorious seafood expert in the world.
Exactly.
He's a renowned humanitarian and Buddhist, and he was Anthony Bourdain's best friend. He's the host of Avec Ripert, Avec Eric, excuse me, and he's one of my favorite people that I've ever encountered on the planet.
I love him. I just love him.
But you're telling me that it's not a surprise, but you're telling me he came up with the best turkey recipe of all time.
Yes, he did. And I've published it. He's published it. If you look on my website, I publish it every Thanksgiving. Eric Ripert's Thanksgiving Turkey. And my website is called everybodyeatsnews.com. I've been doing something for Thanksgiving every single day. Some tip or some recipe every day. And Eric Ripert's turkey is right up there.
Mm-hmm.
And what he does is interesting. He it's sort of like what you're talking about with the two birds. He believes that the breast meat should be treated differently from the back of the bird.
Huh.
So you have the butcher cut the breast off and then give you everything separately so that you can make this fantastic meal. That way you can roast the breast, which you can do perfectly, follow his instructions so that it makes a beautiful glamour dish that you can put at the head of the table. You can slice that breast into thin slices and put a piece on everybody's plate. Then the real clincher for him is that he takes all the back end of the bird, quacks it up. He makes it into kind of a stuffing.
Huh.
And he wraps it up. He wraps it up in cabbage leaves, slathers the cabbage leaves generously, stuffed cabbage leaves generously with butter, and put them in the oven.
All right, are you going to put this recipe up on Everybody Eats News for us today so we can send everybody to everybodyeatsnews.com?
It's up. It's already up.
There you go.
There. You can follow it along. It's there right there.
And so just to recap, I'm going to throw two other things out there. If you're running out of white meat, get 2 split kosher turkey breasts. Roast them off the day before. It's the easiest thing to do. Split kosher turkey breast, olive oil, salt, pepper, 400 degrees, 1 hour. They're done. You don't have to think about it. It's a really terrific way to augment the meat because everybody needs to have leftovers on Thanksgiving.
Oh, my gosh, yes. Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
And you'll come back and visit with us again soon? Oh, and the other thing is tomorrow we are going to be at the 5 Points Farmers Market. And if you are listening right now, come by the Five Points Farmers Market tomorrow and say you were listening to this show and come and say hi to me from 9 to 12 noon, and I will give you, drum roll please, spices to cook your turkey with this year. I'll have a little gift bag for you. Happy listeners, come by and say hi to me. Five Points Farmers Market. Oh, and by the way, we have celebrated chef Justin Nilsson, who's in from the San Francisco Bay Area to be with his family. He's making some goodies, and he will be there with me. So come and meet him and talk to him about Thanksgiving cooking. He's one of the greatest chefs in the American West, and we will be out at the Farmers Market at 5 Points Farmers Market tomorrow from 9 to noon. Make sure you come and see me. Linda West Eckhart, I love you. Thank you.
Love you. Bye.
All right, so we are going to talk about movies. And I went to the Loft Cinema last night. I want to congratulate the Loft Cinema, thank Desert Diamond Casino and the other sponsors who brought the Loft Film Festival to life. Alan Williams is going to be with us to talk about. We're going to get his. We're going to take a. Yes, my friend Alan Williams is on the phone, and I'm very happy that he's here to be with us. You know, so we went to the movies last night at the Loft Cinema, and I love the Loft Cinema. Their Loft Film Festival is one of the great conclusions to the film festival season here in Tucson. I'm writing something down here for my friend and producer. Thank you very much. So here's the thing. So we went to the Loft Cinema last night because we have a new feature on the show called Film School, and we turned to the professor of film, Alan Williams. He used to be one of the movie guys on local radio here for years. He is a filmmaker. He is a director, a writer, a cinematographer, a producer, an actor. He's also been, in his career, a first responder. He knows the power of a great story. He understands the craft of storytelling. And last night we went to the Loft Cinema to watch a movie together so that we could talk about movies, because movies are, during that period of time from the weekend before through Thanksgiving, we watch movies as part of that tradition. Some families watch sports, other families watch movies, and for those families who watch movies, we have some ideas about the best movies to watch for Thanksgiving weekend to share with your family and friends. Last night, we went to see an acclaimed movie by a director called Parasite. It is in Korean. It was shot in South Korea. It is a culturally provocative, delicious, dark comedy. And I would argue that the Parasite movie is a dark comedy the way Barton Fink is a comedy. But to clarify what a comedy is and what we should be watching, what the tips are for our Thanksgiving family movie viewing, my friend, the film professor, Alan Williams, is here at Film School. School's in session. Alan, what an interesting evening we had. So one of the things you'll do each week when you come and visit with us is tell us something about how what we see does what it does to make it a richer experience for us. Anybody can watch a movie, but understanding it gives it richness and makes it more satisfying. What can you tell us about what to look for this Thanksgiving holiday weekend? No. I love that. Listen, Steve Martin and John Candy are the roast turkey and mashed potatoes of the comedy movie world. I love it. Alan Williams, the film professor, thanks for being with us each week, and have a beautiful and delicious Thanksgiving with you and your family. Visit us tomorrow at the 5 Points Farmers Market. And when you get home today, please hug your kids and count your blessings. Happy Thanksgiving.